Well, I've been doing my whole job from home, which takes a lot of adjusting. I'm teaching classes from home. I'm leading services from home. I'm doing Sunday school assembly from home. And I participated last week in a panel discussion at the university from home. And so I'm having to learn all these different video apps, Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Facebook Live and on and on. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm bluffing my way, and I guess it's all right. Well, I assume everybody's affected by this. Of course, older people are staying home because they're the ones most vulnerable, I guess. Younger people with the university, for example, I think have mostly gone back to where they grew up. I hire college kids to teach in my Sunday school because they're a little closer to the children's ages than I am. But those college kids have mostly gone back home, I think. A couple of them are still kicking around Morgantown. But this, of course, everybody's staying home as much as possible. And, Judaism's a congregational religion. It's not meant to be practiced in isolation. Some religions have a tradition of, hermit, what do you call an ascetic tradition or a monastic tradition. Judaism isn't like that. Judaism is meant to be practiced in community, but we're having to redefine what the word community means. Well, I mean, what I'm doing for my congregation, of course, is that we're doing a Seder on Zoom tomorrow night. Um, uh, and people have been asking questions. What do they have to do to participate? All they have to do, of course, is click on the Zoom identifier. Funny people are asking, do we have to buy tickets? Usually we sell tickets to our Seder. But this year, since we don't have to feed them and we don't have to make room for them in any physical location, of course, it's free. So I guess that's a plus. But I feel sad that the children, particularly, or people who are maybe doing this for the first time or one of the first times in their life, they don't get to experience how it's meant to feel. A lot of people in one room and passing the food here and there. It's sad for the kids. I mean, part of why you do the Seder, of course, is to impart the tradition to the next generation. It's meant to, I don't know what your personal experience is, but if you've ever been to a Seder, you're not just telling the story of the Passover and God freeing us from Egyptian bondage, but then also you're acting it out in a sense. Each of the different foods represents a part of the story, and you have people ask questions and other people answer them. It's a whole a kind of dramatic ritual meant to bring the story to life. It's sad that the kids won't get to experience that this year in the full traditional way, although obviously we're doing the best we can. I hope that's what they're doing, but it's easier for those who've been doing it for many years. They know what to do. My congregation also serves lots of people who may be newcomers to observant Judaism, many people have non-Jewish family and friends participating, and it's going to be harder for them because they may not know what the elements are and how to put it all together. But I suppose they'll do the best they can. I assume everybody's doing more or less the same thing. Bigger congregations probably have more experience and a more clearly defined protocol. Now that we're talking about it, it occurs to me I probably should have sent out to my congregation a list of the foods you will need or the ritual objects you will need. But maybe I didn't do that because I didn't want to discourage them in case they don't have access to those items. I don't want to exclude anybody. Of course, you're supposed to have unleavened bread. You're supposed to have bitter herbs. You're supposed to have kosher wine. You're supposed to have certain elements of the ritual. But if they don't have it, of course, they're still welcome to participate. Everyone's welcome to participate, or everybody's welcome to watch. I guess it's a one-way street. I'm broadcasting and they're watching. Well, the one thing I want them to get is that this isn't a story about people thousands of years ago. It's a story about us. We are all in bondage to something or other. We all require liberation, and we all have to take the first step. There's a legend about the parting of the Red Sea, if you know your Bible story. The Hebrew slaves escape and run to the Red Sea, and then they're trapped, and then God splits the sea and we run across. So there's a legend that the sea didn't actually part until the first Hebrew stepped into the drink. What do we learn from this legend? God is always there, but we have to take the first step. That's a lesson for the ages, a lesson that pertains to all of us. So this is about the liberation not of our remote ancestors, but of ourselves. Well,
Congregation.
I'm sure we're going to learn all kinds of lessons from this ordeal, and provided we survive it, please God. I'm sure we're going to learn not to take our liberties for granted, not to take our freedom of movement for granted, and all the blessings and the prosperity that we enjoy in normal times. I don't think we've thought it all through quite yet, what we're going to learn from this, but we're going to learn plenty from this, of course. And above all, we're going to learn to have more empathy for those who are in need. You know, part of the Passover Seder is you hold up a piece of the matzah, the unleavened bread, and you say, "This is the bread of poverty. Let all the hungry come and eat." So part of the point of Passover is developing our empathy for those who are in need, those who are hungry. And this ordeal, although it's terrible for all of us, obviously it's even worse for those in financial distress, for those who don't have a roof over their heads, for those who don't know where their next meal is coming from. This is really going to deepen and sharpen our comprehension of what the needy are coping with all the time. Well, you know, the storybook for the Seder is called the Haggadah. I developed a bare bones Haggadah, a simplified Haggadah, which we emailed out to the whole congregation, emphasizing the songs that are fun to sing and the little rituals that are fun to do, like we open the door for the prophet Elijah. We'll see if he's waiting outside on the front stoop, and we'll have him come in. We flick 10 drops of wine on the plate to represent the 10 plagues. And of course, this year we have the word plague as a more powerful resonance than ever before. So I included the fun things in the Haggadah that I sent out to the congregation. I think it'll be short and sweet, and I hope my congregation enjoys it. And by the way, my brother in Louisiana is going to participate in the Seder if we can figure out how to patch him in. He's a musician. He's going to play guitar for a couple of the popular songs, and I hope that we can broadcast him also. This will be his West Virginia debut. Well, yeah, I mean, it's part of the story. If you remember the Bible story, God sent 10 plagues to force Pharaoh to let the Hebrew slaves go. The Hebrew slaves were spared. But so is any of us going to be spared from this coronavirus plague? Of course, we have no way to know. The purpose of the plagues in the Bible story is to soften Pharaoh's heart. Is this plague going to soften our hearts? I mean, I see how divided America is these days, and how angry people are at each other, and so far the coronavirus seems to have made it worse. But I hope in the long run it's going to make it better. I hope we're going to learn to have a little more empathy for one another.